April 1st, 2024. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. So this is what the chart looked like today. I was actually had a pretty bad cold last week, so it was kind of the first day I actually got back into actual trading. So fortunately, there wasn't very many trades today. The price action was very slow, and although I didn't create any videos or trade last week, I think after the first day, Monday, it was also a short week. I did go back and do some chart review for myself, try to simulate to see what I would think I saw setups. And it was actually pretty slow trading on those days as well. So I don't think I missed too much. Kind of a slow end to the quarter as well as the end of March. And today was just a very slow start to the new quarter. There was only one piece of economic data that came out at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard, which is about right here, which is the ISM PMI Manufacturing Index. And it didn't really look like it moved the market. Overall price action looked like it moved down in a very gradual sell-off, and then it stayed range bound pretty much for the next, I guess, 4 hours. It was very uneventful. There were no trades taken today, and even then, I didn't really see any good setups at all. So this is what the pre-market looked like. Pre-market, there was kind of a weird little gap, and then it oscillated, sold off, and then it just, well, it just started a very slow day. And I'm not going to complain because I'm just coming back from a few days off of trading, so I don't feel super sharp right now. Got to get a little bit of the ring rust off. But right here, it forms kind of a bottoming pattern, and I do notice the EMA is starting to trend down, so I'm wondering if it's actually going to move all the way back up to this pre-market high because I'm thinking we might be in a trading range. And here it looks like it's moving up above the EMA, bounces, and then starts jumping around the EMA. No clean setups. Falls into what I think is a trading range. Kind of confirms. I have like 1, 2, 3 triple tests. And then you have kind of a resistance up here, but there's no clean trade that I like, even though there's a triple test here. Kind of moves up. It's still within this range. I don't have this purple channel, down channel drawn yet, and then it starts moving down. It breaks out. EMA looks like it's starting to show some strength. Before it was just flat. You get a first entry short here and a second entry short, but this isn't a very good signal bar, so this isn't really telling me to go short. But once this candle formed and then these two, I did look for this purple down channel, which I placed, and then I put the bottom of the leg here because it looked like it touched pretty well here and touched pretty well here. So here I'm wondering if we're really in a trading range marked out by the pre-market highs and pre-market lows, or are we going to start obeying this purple down channel? Price is just sold off here. This is shortly after the PMI manufacturing index, but this is already pretty good amount of time since the numbers were announced. So I don't really feel it's risky to start trying to find a trade here. You have a new high, first entry long, second entry long was a bad signal bar. It's kind of at the bottom. I didn't really like this setup. I saw this, the new low. It's a first entry short pullback, potential second entry short. Now I thought this was an almost trade because the EMA is starting to hold prices down. It's a really good signal bar, but it's an inside bar. And there is enough room to the lows, but I wanted this to print a few more candles and then give me a lower high confirmation that I feel confident. You do get a lower high here, and it confirms the second entry short, but now there's no more room to the lows because it looks like it might be bottoming here and it could bounce. I mean, it could also punch right through and go lower further, but I don't know that, so it doesn't feel safe to take a short entry. Definitely not a long entry. Kind of chops around, creates this 5 matching highs here, but these candles are just too huge, very congested. Starts moving about. I do see a second entry short here. There's a new low. Say first entry short, pull back. Technically, if a second entry short here, the risk is pretty small because it's only 6 ticks. But I wanted it to actually come up and get bounce and rejection off the EMA to feel a little more confident. And there is technically enough room to get a quick scalp, so maybe there's a trade there, but I just didn't like the setup. It looked a little desperate. Because you see these candles are pretty tiny and they're side by side. I don't really like this type of price action, especially when it doesn't fit nicely in a channel. I did end up drawing thinking maybe there's some kind of sub yellow channel here because the purple one was just too far and all the price action was near the middle. So I tried to contain it with this yellow channel. I did see this as a new low, first entry short, second entry short. Technically, you have a lower high here, but it's a lower high and it's the wrong kind of lower high because it's bullish. And I wanted this ideally to actually be below the EMA and bearish, but I just marked it because it was a very slow day and I just probably saw it, never thought anything about it. And then once further down the line, I probably came back and just marked it just so I had something to do on a very slow day. Technically, you have a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. This is a pretty small signal bar. It's only 1 point, but it doesn't feel safe to go long, especially when you look back that the whole day has been very bearish. So you'd be counter trend trading. And although it's a small risk, it's not a good risk to be taking. Prices move down, kind of chops around. It's just very slow trading right now. Kind of hits this consolidation area, breaks back down and through. Technically, you have a new high. So first entry long pullback. You technically have a second entry long here. Unfortunately, this is kind of like close to an almost trade. I like that this candle broke one tick below and flashed all the way back up. It did break out of this green down channel. So if you were more aggressive, you could probably, when you see this, think, okay, there might be enough momentum to push up to at least the EMA. So if I were to try to take a trade, I'd probably put it at the highs of this original signal bar. If only this signal bar had been green, then this would have been a pretty nice setup. Feel more confident taking because you do create a double bottom here. You're near the lows, but this is the signal bar, which is bearish. You did have an engulfing trigger bar, and it just feels a little dicey. I'm not as experienced with these type of setups, but if I did want to take this trade, I'd probably put it at the highs here. Here it's debatable whether I would have gotten filled or not. And let's just say you did get filled, then you probably would have gotten the scalp. But to reduce or increase the chances of getting filled, you could have probably just put it one tick above this original signal bar, which probably would have gotten you filled. But the setup just wasn't clean enough, or I didn't have enough confidence to take that kind of risk. You do have a higher low, which is what I was looking for to still try to get in on this trade, but unfortunately it's below the EMA. EMA is starting to kind of flatten out, but it's more of a roller coaster. And I did think that maybe I'm in a larger trading range, which is this pink one. Then went from the bottom to the top, back to the bottom. It's hard to really know if it's going to go back to the top because the confirmation started a little late. If this dip had actually come all the way down here and gave me a triple test, then I would have felt better. But you really only have two tests right now, and you have somewhat of a confirmation at the top. So a couple things need to happen. This higher low need to have broken above the EMA just to give me a little more confidence, and or it would have been another touch off bottom here. But it looked like it, I guess, could have worked. Prices then chop around. You do have a new high, first entry long, second entry long. This is an inside bar. I don't like that, especially when the setup isn't very clean. And it moves back up. It has a failed breakout here, comes right back in, and it has a new high. It's a first entry long pullback, second entry long, potential second entry long failure. Now it's coming from a failed breakout. This is a good signal bar to go short. EMA is somewhat acting as support. It is starting to trend up, so that gave me a little bit of pause. It is a kind of a third confirmation of this potential resistance of this trend line going down. I wasn't sure it was a trend channel yet, but maybe if you're more aggressive, this might have been a trade to take. But this is so late in the day now because I've been watching the whole day and there was no real good clean setups. So watching how long it took candles to close, I knew this next couple of candles might take a while to close. So I just didn't feel like trying to initiate a trade and just figured it could be a no trade day, which would be just as acceptable as opposed to just kind of desperately trying to get a trade for the day. But it looks like if you did go short, you would have gotten enough for a scalp. And if you kept your stop one tick above this guy, you would have just survived. Because if I were enter on this one, I wouldn't want to put my stop here. I'd probably put it above this guy. And it probably, if I was going for more than 1 point or 2 points, looks like you would have just survived because the one tick would have been up here. And then depending on how much you're going for, you still would have survived here, still would have survived, and then here would have taken you out. But if I was still in the trade, after seeing so many bounces, I would start to get nervous because it looks like it's starting to have a bullish bias. I'd either try to get out break even if I still didn't get my profit target at that point, because it's already testing it 3 times. It's getting close. You could argue that it's at the top of the range. It could push back down, but look at all this empty space. It's telling me that bulls are starting to turn the corner. So it just felt a little riskier. Then, of course, if prices move and it kind of moves into the close. Overall, it was a very slow, lack of a lot of price action type of day. There weren't very many setups, and I think there was only maybe one setup maybe worth taking, but other than that, there was no trade day, and for good reason. It was just really slow. So hopefully that was helpful.